Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. It's been an incredibly busy window, as it always is, for Chelsea, with plenty of ins and plenty of outs, and they're not done yet. They're looking to add at least 2 more, including Man United's Alejandro Garnacho. It feels like Alejandro Garnacho has his heart set on moving to West London, but it feels like right now Manchester United and Chelsea are quite far apart in terms of valuation.
I mean, it appears as if he is sort of, he loves Chelsea because he's turned down a move to Bayern Munich because he only wants to move to Chelsea, and that's the problem that Manchester United have got, because they value him at around £50 million. Chelsea don't feel that he's worth that, even though I think you could make a pretty good case for the fact that he is worth £50 million, because Madueke has gone for about 50, Gittins has gone for about 50, Alanga's gone for about 50, and Garnacho is an Argentina international. He's only 21 years old. But of course, Chelsea's point of view is this is a guy who's got no future at United. He's been told he can leave, so we're not going to pay over the odds for him. And I think Chelsea feel that they can get him for around £30 million, and they're just biding their time. I'm being told they're in active discussions with United, really good relations between the two clubs. I think the direction of travel is he's going to end up being a Chelsea player.
Well, could Xavi Simons, Andy, end up being a Chelsea player? Because I suppose, like Alejandro Garnacho, it does feel like he's been telling clubs that he only wants to move to Chelsea. But in the process of all this, he's been playing for Leipzig and he's been playing brilliantly. Really well. He played at Sandhausen at the Cup in the weekend and set up a goal, scored a goal at the end, played the full 90 minutes. And it's really interesting, the approach of different players, isn't it, to I really want to move. It's like, well, why would I sit on my hands? I'll just be brilliant and prove how much they should want me in the meantime. Look, Leipzig are in a difficult situation with Xavi Simons because they signed him permanently after a very successful loan spell for a fee that could rise to 80 million euros. So they can't give him away. You know, they're in a difficult situation. They know the Premier League is the place to sell him to get most of that money back. Now, of course, there's been the possibility mentioned of maybe a swap, that Christopher and Nkunku would go back there. As I understand that wouldn't work at all wage-wise, because he's earning twice as much as Chelsea as he was at Leipzig. And Leipzig, since this summer, they've brought in this new austerity era where their top earner is going to get 5 million. So that can't really happen.
Could you see Tottenham maybe making a move for him now they've missed out on Eze?
It'd be a really good move. I think it'll work brilliantly. But again, whether he would buy it, because he seems quite invested in the Chelsea idea, has to be the question. But if I was Xavi Simons, I would be looking at somewhere where a team could be built around me. To me, that feels far more likely at Tottenham than at Chelsea, where it's Cole Palmer's team.
Thank you very much, William. Right, let's talk Manchester United now, because Napoli are pushing for the loan signing of Rasmus Højlund, according to Sky in Italy. That's after AC Milan could not convince Højlund to join them under the terms of the deal on offer. Milan wanted a loan with an option, while Højlund and United's preference was a permanent deal. I mean, we've got European football expert Andy Brassel in the studio, so it feels the first question, Andy, is feels like Manchester United feel like Serie A is the place to sell their players.
Yep.
Why is that?
There's no money there, is there?
So why is...
But because it's a good profile of league to reinflate a player's value. And that is exactly the spot that Højlund's in at the moment. If you look at the players who've come out of difficult times, not just English players who've come out of difficult times in the Premier League to do really well there. Look at Scott McTominay's image now. You know, he's on the Ballon d'Or list. And go before that, you go Lukaku, Smalling, Young. You can go through them all, and they've reignited their careers there. Now, look, I think Højlund and United, if that is really their view, that they want a permanent deal, well, you know, I'd love a Lamborghini, but it's not going to happen. The fact is that his value has dropped so much over the last 2 years. The best thing for him and for United is to loan him out and get him to a point where he's sellable. At the moment, he is not sellable for anything near what they paid for him. Even if you're taking off the bits for amortisation, it's just not worth their while. I don't see how they can get a reasonable deal for him. Whereas if he goes to Serie A and shows a bit of what we thought he was about, then it's a lot different. And maybe this Lukaku injury opens it up for him.
But then somebody like Anthony has gone to Spain and he did pretty well at Real Betis last season.
Well, that's an advert for the loan, isn't it?
But no one's coming in and offering big money for him. So it just seems that these players that United are stuck with because of mistakes they've made in the transfer market, they just can't move them on, even when they go out on loan and do pretty well, like Jadon Sancho. You know, he went to Chelsea for the second half of last season, did okay. Chelsea were pretty ambivalent about keeping him, were willing to keep him as long as he took a wage cut. He wasn't willing to take a wage cut, and they said, all right, you know what, not interested.
And straight away, that's the problem there. The answer's in the question, isn't it? The fact
wages.
is, yeah, and this is a problem for every Premier League club. If you've got failing players, where do you put them? I mean, the Saudi Pro League worked for that for a bit, but if they're not going to Saudi, where are they going? Now, maybe the Turkish Super League comes back into the picture later in the window, but I think for the moment, you do have to go out there and prove the players are worth something. I mean, it's been a difficulty. You think of Marcus Rashford, for example. He went out there and did pretty well in the second half of last season for Aston Villa, in a Premier League context as well. But was it? I realise Villa are in a particular situation, but no one in the Premier League looked at that and thought, you know what, we're going to bet the farm on him. There was enough to show there's a player still there, but there's not enough to say we're going to bet everything on him. And I feel that was the case definitely with Sancho when he went to Chelsea and Dortmund. There's enough to say there's still a player there, but is there enough to say there's a game-changing player that we want to invest a lot in, and maybe not? If Højlund's got a full season to do it, then maybe at least that brings it closer to the mark where United find themselves an acceptable deal.
Sancho's an interesting one because is it basically he is just holding out now for a club that is going to pay his wages? He's not willing to take a pay cut. And are any clubs in Italy going to do that? He's on a ridiculous amount of money at Manchester United.
I think the situation is that because he's on big wages, because he's likely to leave on loan, although I think United would prefer to sell him on a permanent deal. It's one of those things that's going to get done late in the window because clubs know that they can get a better deal out of United regarding the loan fee and also how much of his wages they would have to pay. But the problem United have with Sancho, they don't need me to tell them, is that they bought him for a big fee, and also they gave him a big contract. And there aren't any clubs out there who are willing to pay a big fee for him or pay him the kind of wages that he's on at United.
I think Roma could still happen.
Yeah.
Why would you turn down Roma?
Yeah, why?
You live in Rome.
Yeah.
You play for like an incredible club.
An attacking coach and Gasperini.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot to recommend it. But look, if it was all about the money for Sancho, he would have taken the deal from Fenerbahce a month and a half ago, and he hasn't done that. So clearly his ambition is to play for what he sees as a big club in Europe and somewhere where he needs to feel love around him. And that's why he's excelled at Dortmund. I wonder if there's a little bit of Dortmund in the background here, because there are people in the dressing room who would love to have him back. I don't think the club are convinced that it's a great deal, but I think from a Dortmund Sancho perspective, there's something there that won't go away. You know, that's where he first emerged, and he's got a lot of supporters there. Now, whether the club think that that's the right deal and whether they think it's a financially expedient deal is different, but I think that's possibly part of what's holding up the Roma deal reaching completion.
Yeah.
When Manchester United splashed £62.5 million on Matheus Cunha this summer, many wondered if he would be the answer to United's long-standing goal-scoring problems. The 26-year-old Brazilian, fresh from an impressive 17-goal season at Wolves, arrived at Old Trafford with high expectations resting on his shoulders. And guess what? He's already silencing the doubters. Cunha might not have found the back of the net in his debut against Arsenal, but his explosive performance earned him Player of the Match, a clear sign that United may have finally secured the forward they've been desperately searching for. His energy, movement and confidence lit up Old Trafford, and fans are already buzzing with excitement. But it's not just the supporters who are impressed. Inside the dressing room, Cunha has already won over some of United's biggest names. Harry Maguire, Matthijs de Ligt, Kobbie Mainoo, and Diogo Dalot have all praised the Brazilian's immediate impact on the squad's morale and chemistry. Perhaps the strongest words came from veteran midfielder Casemiro, who knows Cunha from their time together with the Brazilian national team. "I already knew Matheus for a long time," Casemiro revealed. "I played against him at Atletico Madrid and Wolves, and now I'm certain he has the quality to carry United this season." For a club that has struggled in front of goal, Cunha might just be the spark United fans have been praying for. Could he be the man to lead United back to glory?